Welcome, everyone, to Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. This is BetskaK-Burr with my wonderful co-host, Raj Vashisht from Delhi. I'm from Canada, and our delightful guest here today is Marian Hailey-Moss. And this is Love Month, folks, right? Love Month, month of February. That's what Raj and I are celebrating, and that's why we invited Marian. But we would like to start our podcast by giving you a big heart. And
Yes.
Raj has been practicing. Okay.
Yeah.
Raj has been practicing. Yay, Raj, you did it. Yay. Oh, that's just great. Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Well, let me introduce Marian to you folks. She grew up in Seattle, Washington, in the U.S., and she started acting in plays in high school. Listen to her bio. This multi-talented woman, wow, is incredible. She graduated the University of Washington in drama and then came to New York City in 1964. And after 15 years working as an actress on Broadway, talent, right? Actress on Broadway, television, movies, she studied to become a psychotherapist. Like, wow, right? From here to here. And then a friend introduced her to the great Master, Supreme Master Ching Hai, and her teachings of meditation, compassion, and a plant-based diet. And then inspired by the Master's teachings, Marian has written about 17 children's books about animals and their well-being. Awesome. You threw some more light on the subject. Thank you, Marian. So before I turn or ask Marian some questions, I wanted to present us with some statistics on violence. And for example, political violence increased by 25% globally in 2024 compared to the previous year, with 1 in 8 people exposed to conflict and 223,000 people killed. These are estimates by the NGO. And then an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical and or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both, at least once in their life. So we're talking 30% of women between the ages, or since after the age of 15. And then 1 in 6 of us, humans, are living in an area of active conflict. That's a huge number. 1 in 6 are living in an area of active conflict. And then the World Health Organization reports that globally, it's estimated that up to 1 billion children aged 2 to 17 have experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence or neglect. So now you know why in this month of love, we wanted to bring in someone like Marian to have a discussion with us about, how to really overcome violence. I mean, it's such a big topic. But before I do that, what's the impact of violence? Many, many impacts. For example, death, right? Or severe injuries. Or you can, if a child gets exposure to violence at a young age, it can impair their brain development and damage other parts of the nervous system, as well as the endocrine, circulatory, musculoskeletal, I can never say that properly, etc., right? And then children exposed to violence are substantially more likely to smoke, misuse alcohol and drugs, and engage in high-risk sexual behavior. Also leads to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental problems and suicide. And I could go on forever. We're not going to get into the risk factors here today, but I just want to turn the microphone over to Marian and say, Marian, it's clear that violence is a global problem. And in our discussions, you listed many types of violence against people and animals over and above what I just talked about. And these are probably more subtle, but gosh, they're there. You said a carnivore diet contains hidden violence against animals. And there is artistic violence of Kung Fu. I never would have thought of that. There's the invisible violence of killing microscopic entities while we're breathing. You know, we breathe, and so there are bugs in the air. We're breathing, and we're, of course, 99.9% of the population probably wouldn't think of that. Then there's soft violence of gossip and bad mouthing. And there's gross violence, as in war, in the meat industry, fur farms, medical experiments. So, Marian, in her books, and many books, talks about love and respect for all humans and animals. So, Marian, during our discussion yesterday about how to conduct this podcast, things were moving and shaking for both of us on how to handle this very delicate podcast. But when we were talking about all these types of violence, what is really, really bothering you deep down at a heart level about all this violence? Tell us.
You mean what's the most important to me?
Well, what is really bothering you at a heart level when you think about all this violence? What's going on in your heart?
Well, I don't know what's going on in my heart, but I just know I had to write something about the animals when I learned what's happening in the meat industry. And I learned about that when I went vegan, or vegetarian first, and then vegan. And I had no idea, And so it was just organic. I came across animals I had 2 dogs that I walked 4 times a day. So I came across a lot of people and a lot of neighborhood dogs and pigeons that were in need. So I just started writing out what I came across every day. The first one was Randall. I had a pigeon I found, and it was healing in a mansion across town. And the woman who was there told me of what is it? A chow chow dog that she and her companion rescued. And it was so fascinating, her story. I wrote it up, and that was my first book, A Dog Named Randall. And I made him vegan, which was, of course, as a stray dog, he would have eaten anything. But I mean, it was poetic license, right?
Yeah.
So that started me off. And actually, one of the porters in the garden here, I live in one of the few apartments in New York City that has a garden. And one of the porters called me up one day and found a little baby pigeon. And I wrote about that with my sister-in-law. I sent it to her. She said, "Oh, Marian, you have so many mistakes here." And so she started correcting me. So we wrote it together. And
that's cute.
It's wonderful these days because you don't have to wait for an agent and have the agent send it around to so many publishers. You can just self-publish. It takes, at my age, I figured that was the way to go. So I just kept on, going. And I find that there's a built-in delay of cause and effect in our whole society. I had no idea what the yummy food on my plate came from such a horrific experience. We talk about violence today, which is the opposite, of course, of love. There are at least 8 billion animals killed every year in our industries, and it's supported and subsidized by our government.
Mm.
So that's what's important to me. And I don't know if I can talk about it that much. I just write about it,
Mm.
you
Yes,
know.
exactly. Yeah. So you have also mentioned a little bit about, and I've read about this, that the workers that get their paycheck from working in slaughterhouses can get very sick mentally and physically. It's a
Can you
very hard,
imagine?
yeah.
Most of them, I would imagine, are on drugs or
Mm,
alcohol, and most of them are immigrants, you
yeah,
know.
that's right.
So I don't know who's going to do that if our president here sends out a lot of immigrants. He's
Mm-hmm.
sending out more than just the criminals. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yes, yeah, we'll see what happens there exactly. So I've got a big question to ask you, but let's start exploring this one, and that is, gosh, violence has been around for centuries and centuries. So, what do you think is the root cause of all this violence when you think about the human being? Is it a lack of insensitivity, or it's how they're raised? Or, and Raj, please pop in here. Why do you think people are violent towards other humans and animals? It's a big question. Anybody?
Right.
Fear. Oh, sorry, Raj.
Fear? Fear? Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah, please start with that. Let's talk about fear.
Well, people strike out if they're fearful, and it takes a lot more time and energy and also education to negotiate. So it can be pretty, they're telling us here it's going to be hard times for the first couple of years because the president is putting on all these tariffs. And so
Mm-hmm.
things are going to get much more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And people, lash out when they're fearful if they can't feed their families and their loved
Oh,
ones.
got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was
But it,
taught there's a triune brain. We have the animal brain, pardon me, the animal brain, which is fight or flight. That's the reptilian brain, actually. Then
mm-hmm.
we have the monkey brain in between, which is the child brain, which wants things instantly. And then there's the adult brain, which can think of
Mm-hmm.
consequences and things. So if you're afraid, you just go to the reptilian brain,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is the basic, just to survive.
Ha. So are you saying that the violence on this planet is because people need to survive? That it's power struggle between people, neighbors, countries. They're hungry.
It's one
Raj, what do you
reason.
think? That's one reason. Okay. Raj, any thoughts from you about what is the root cause of all this violence? What is causing it? What makes people violent?
This is very big question and very deep.
Mm,
And it's a types of violence you already explained in
mm-hmm,
the beginning of our introduction.
mm-hmm,
So some people want supremacy. Some people want I'm very strong, so I can suppress. Some people
mm,
have inheritance problem, so they cannot control themselves and they unintentionally start hitting, beating, shouting, abusing. Some people have some kind of trauma some people are like a psychological things in their mind, so they
Yeah.
cannot control. And some people are behavior wise through childhood very violent because their surrounding, their upbringing, all the things is very cruel. So they become very violent. So these kind of people we cannot change, not at all, the whole life, because they are, because if I'm thinking about myself, if when I was very young, children, then adult, if I was born and brought like this kind of violence every day, beating animal, murdering animals, slaughtering animal, like beating sister, brother, mother, father, fighting and abusing. So 1 to 20 year, if I'm seeing these kind of activities every day in my house, for example, so only I think very rare people can avoid. Mostly percent of people they become like same person when they grown up, when they adult. This is the problem, and I think this is the very root cause topic to study and guide awareness, societies, surroundings, schools, colleges. I think this is
Yeah. Yeah.
awareness and education is very
Right.
important to stop
Yeah. Yeah.
these things. Otherwise, we cannot stop. It is,
Well, look how many people were changed by Muhammad Gandhi. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
you're right. Uh, I don't know if I'm checking through my meditation vibes and vibrations like Betska also know you also do. I have seen so many people, they are very good. They are showing they are very kind and humble. But what I learn when I go from their inside, I found they have two personality. They are very good in front of so many people. They are very nice, lovey-dovey.
Ah.
But when you go backside, bedroom, deep side, they are completely opposite, abusive, very like violent. Violence is not only beating, like your behavior is sometimes very violent.
Yeah, yeah,
That is also very dangerous
absolutely.
violence.
Yeah.
So I think this is very difficult topic actually. Very, very difficult topic.
So, I mean, Raj has, I think, hit the nail on the head, and that is if we're going to overcome violence, it has to start with education, and that's where Marian's books come in. So, folks, we're going to take a pause and we're going to come back for part 2, and then we're going to move in to really talk about Marian's beautiful books that she's written all about love and respect. We'll see you soon.